Good. With the microphone, it's easier. So, hi everyone. It's really good to see you all here. It's really exciting to see so many people in Cluj looking at this event. And usually, we don't have a lot of these events in Cluj. And it's really nice to have Simona and the guys from today's Software Magazine organizing this. So, really good job. Thank you, guys. Today we want to talk to you a bit about crashes. We thought that's a good subject. We have some flames, we have some planes, and we wanted to just chat with you around what can really go wrong into this agile world. And why not talking with you together and see what could be some of the solutions to prevent the crashes, or at least rescue the people that are not dying in crashes already. Is this thing working? Crash. Crash number one. Keep going. Okay, so we are part of Endava. Endava is a large services IT organization that is dealing with software development and IT services. We are part of the 1,000 people team in Endava that are doing software development projects, software testing projects, and application support across financial sector, telco, and media. Okay, so this is working really well.
Okay, so my name is Cristian Cazan. I have 15 years of experience in IT. I'm doing a lot of agile coaching, agile shaping. I've been grow alongside 3 delivery units, over 20 Scrum teams. I've been helped them to understand the agile values, live the according to the agile attitude, and deliver those projects successfully to the customers. Also, as former head of development, I was managing over 160 professionals, IT professional developers across 2 locations, Iași and Cluj.
And I'm George, and pretty much my job is around coaching Agile clients in Agile transformations. A lot of them are new to Agile, and they are very interested in the Agile benefits, but maybe kind of don't know how to get there. And assisting them in doing so, it's one of the challenges that I love best. So today, I guess what we're trying to tackle is a lot of things that could go wrong in Agile. So we thought we'd just explore with you what things around the poor product backlog we've all seen. What about some product owners that maybe cannot take some of the decisions and they are stalling you a lot? What about client organization that is partly committed to Agile and they would like to reap all those Agile benefits, but they are doing all this managerial style approaches and all of those budget release planning and all of that. And also, what about you working with a product owner and you've done everything with him, you have established everything, he says it's done, everything is good, but later on in that organization, when you move off your software to the back to production, you just see it fail there and never gets to production, and your team gets blamed for that. So what we want to do with you is just kind of explore together some of these pains and just think about some of the solutions that we can apply to this.
Okay, so I just started to work with this new customer from the financial world sector. This is a huge project. They are undergoing a massive 3 years change program, business to customer, a B2C portal, a brand new back office application which integrates and streamlines over their back office systems, legacy systems. This new customer is keen to do Agile, but it's new to it. The new application it uses Java-based application. It's .NET, a lot of legacy S/4HANA and COBOL. My organization was hired or engaged by this new customer from the global banking business as Agile transformation partner and delivery partner. My name is Jack. I'm the Scrum Master for working for this customer with several teams. We are now in sprint number 6, and some of this went well, some of this could be improved. Let's see what we can do about it.
Oh, Jack, looking good, looking good. How are you?
Hi Jack, fine, you? All good?
Yeah, looks good, Jack.
Yeah, so I'm just updating the board. I'm adding new tasks.
Yeah, I mean, that's really great. I mean, you know, being here with you, it's so much better than what I see this board in my London office when you guys kind of just dial me in. You know, it looks that big on my monitor. This is really nice. I like being here with you.
Yeah, it's very important to have you here with us at the beginning of this important phase, like release planning and everything. And we really appreciate the courtesy of visiting us. I hope you are enjoying the time spent with us. So I was just adding some tasks with the estimations after the interim demo we've done yesterday. It was quite a good one.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, let's look at that. I mean, that's why we can sign up for Agile. I mean, yesterday you did that interim demo thing. Me and the guys looked at the product. We saw this brand new scenario coming up. Now it's on the board. I mean, you are adding it in. It's on the Spring backlog. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's indeed on the backlog because after the discussion with you yesterday, we found out a lot of work. And the new acceptance criteria that you were so kind in explaining to us added a little bit more work, and we need to add those tasks on the board. But there is an implication though. Have you noticed the bump in the BURNdown? It's a
nice one.
It's a bump, yeah. So I was actually looking at the board and trying to identify what could we do in order to kind of still hit the sprint goal. So these 20 user stories, these 20 story points to story, it's quite big, and I wanted to propose to you to split it in like 2 and drop some of the functionalities.
Whoa, wait a minute, Jack. I mean, what are you talking about? What? The bump is nice and everything, but dropping stories. I mean, you remember for the next demo, I've invited all the stakeholders in there. We want to show them the nice stuff. What's about dropping stuff?
Oliver, so it's even more, Oliver. So we talked with the design agency. They get their implication on the UI part, and then provide the wireframe for the desktop version. They are still working on the tablet version, so there might be even more work added to the board because of the tablet version.
We love that design agency. I mean, we've been working with those guys for like 5 years. They're just good, yeah. Just like you guys. I mean, yesterday we gave them those specifications. Boom, the wireframes came through. You guys are now adding to the board. This is happening. I love them.
Yeah, that is quite good. Yeah. You know, I wanted to organize a meeting with you and them. It seems that they are complaining to you about too many meetings.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring that up like this, but you know, they've been telling me that you are a bit obsessed with meetings. You are always setting meetings. Just let them work.
Only the necessary one, you know. In Agile, the communication is very important, especially when you are dealing with more companies working together on the same backlog, which are distributed across 3 locations. So the whole communication thing is a key for the success of a Scrum project. And yeah, I wanted to bring it with you in our next week meeting. You didn't accept it yet.
Yeah, I'm meaning to ask you about that, Jack. I mean, what's with that grooming thing that you were setting up? Are you going tribal on me? What's that grooming thing about?
Okay, so
what you see is just like a real life situation. What I want to ask you now, let's look at the situations themselves. Let's look a bit at the behaviors. Don't focus too much on the behaviors. You know, we are professional actors and doing the IT for just like a hobby, but focus on the situations themselves. See a bit what was going on in there. And I will just ask you about some of the stuff that happened. Let's try and write it on the board and see some of the things that could be improved over there.
Okay, so don't queue up. One at a time, please.
Is it a real project board or it is just for the sake of the scenario?
Definitely for the sake of scenario.
So it looks real to me. I'm the Scrum Master. So what have you observed? We have T-shirts and agile planning book for the guys that are giving us best answers. So come on, participate.
The client was very keen with the new thing.
Yeah, so
True.
he really liked agile. So we have a very keen product owner, though.
Trying to interfere with the team when the team decided development design.
So he added more work.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the user stories? How were the user stories on the board? Were them small enough, too big?
There were too many user stories, and the client wasn't accepting to drop some of the user stories. Or
So
to
massive user stories, one,
or to split them into the next.
and the customer didn't want it any of them being dropped, right?
And he was complaining about
Too
too many meetings.
many meetings.
He was considering that it would be great just to leave the team working and up to bother them with so many meetings.
Okay, so too many meetings. I have a gift for you.
Excellent.
Black and white, or white.
Like,
Black.
Here we
Okay.
go. It was the only black, just
Being the first, we got to choose.
Okay, so
Sorry, you guys only got a commitment today. I mean, your product owner just said that in a couple of something, he wants to show the new features to some business units.
So the product owner already committed, although the team didn't finish the work, yeah. Which is a little bit not agile, right?
You were not convincing him, explaining product owner why you cannot do this.
Okay, so the Scrum Master was, actually I didn't get to the explaining part, so that's something we are going to do it together, like on the next slide. Still.
okay, so it looks like a full house.
Thank you very much, guys. Okay, so sprint goal changes. I think we already, you got that, which is quite good. So in the beginning of the sprint, the team commits to what they are going to deliver. And basically, what's in the sprint shouldn't be changed, or small changes are acceptable. Only small changes are acceptable. If the product owner comes up with clarification that kind of exceed the sprint goal, then the team needs to adjust the goal. Okay, and the user stories are clear to the team and the product owner. User stories are too big. Clearly, the user stories are too big. I was just splitting in the middle of the sprint 20 story points as a story, which is big, and I was adding tasks after a clarification session with the product owner, and also the user stories weren't clear to the product owner or to myself, to the team.
Yeah, and Oliver was pretty oblivious to a lot of agile practices. I mean, for what are you talking about? Grooming there, what's with the big bump? So he definitely didn't kind of knew what's going on the board. He was up for the hype of agile, but didn't kind of knew how to handle it. Also, the product backlog and release planning were definitely ignoring that design agency type of interaction and dependency. I mean, those guys were supposed to add in the designs, and they were supposed to give to these guys the wireframes, and they were supposed to actually rework some of that. So none of that was actually in their backlog, so it's just ignoring that. So let's look a bit what kind of solutions would we have part of them, because there are always many.
Okay, so one of the best practices is to introduce a definition of ready for the user stories prior to get them in the sprint. And definition of ready could contain something like the user story shouldn't be bigger than 13 story points. The user story should have acceptance criteria defined. The design for those user stories should be, the team should gather design from a third party, like a design agency, prior to the sprint planning, so they can plan their sprint, and so on and so forth. So that's something you'll need to get agreed with the product owner in the beginning of the agile transformation process, and then enhance it as you go along, because agile means just enough and just in time. Introduce proper backlog grooming, and by grooming I didn't mean any tribal practice or something like that, but instead just taking a look at the backlog from time to time, maybe 2 times in the middle of the sprint, and trying to clarify what's going to happen in the next sprint. So looking ahead activities. And those meetings pay up really, really well. Because the backlog will be prepared for the next sprint. You won't have so many clarifications during the sprint, and even more, the release, the team can estimate and can give an idea to the product owner about the size, and in this way he will be able to prioritize those stories according to the business value and the cost.
Also, when we are working with a company that is new to Agile, it's quite important that we don't take very literally the separation in between us as a Scrum development team and the product owner. We still one team together. The Scrum team includes the product owner. When we're working with people like that on a daily basis, it's our job as Scrum Masters, it's our job as development team to help them understand a number of things around the Agile thing. Not let them kind of live in oblivion there. Why are we doing this? What is this important? Let's share those Agile values, help them understand why are we doing those things. So in this case, definitely some on the job too. Yeah, the bomb is actually formed by this, and the tasks are reflected like this in there. And when you do this, this happens. So this sort of ongoing coaching with the product owner are really easy to do, because he's working with you on a daily basis, day in and day out. He's working with you. Also, whatever we do, we should understand how the backlog of work is done. This product owner was ignoring the fact that he's working with a design agency to actually produce work items and then hand them over at a certain point to us as a development team to kind of work on them. So actually the product backlog was ignoring that side altogether with the design agency. He should be thinking about that. He should actually introduce that side of the thing, the design agency user stories. We should actually work with them together on the same backlog. We should include them into our definition of done. Them done without us done without them, that can't be the increment to be potentially shippable. It's definitely through us and the design agency working on the same backlog. Definitely we need to introduce the design agency into our Scrum of Scrums, because we were working with 7 teams over there. That's great, that's fun. So definitely we were having this synchronization. I pick up this story, you pick up that story. But the design agency need to be in our Scrum of Scrum. They need to understand what we need by what time. We need to introduce them into the backlog grooming sessions. We need to clarify with them what do we need by when, and we need to actually plan together a common release planning, because they might not be ready to give us stuff by then. We need to push some stories backward for that. The product owner needs to understand this sort of a thing. Of course, he's the only one that can order that backlog and can prioritize that backlog, but he will look at us as development team together, recommending what's appropriate and saying what are the dependencies on the technical and on the business side also. So that's some of the solutions we wanted to share with you. If there are any questions at this point, let's kind of not wait until the end to ask a bunch of questions. If you see something that you don't like or don't agree or you want to add something, jump right in. Let's talk about it. Good then. Hi, come in. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Hi, Ethan. How are you? All fine?
Good. I knew you were in our London office. I just wanted to kind of just spend 5 minutes with you talking about something that I'm really concerned about.
It's good to be on site with the customer, so we spend really good time with product on it. It's good, yeah.
But look, Jack, have a small issue with the visibility on the release plan. So I'm looking ahead with my business stakeholders, I'm looking ahead with the business units, and we need to understand a bit better when things are coming along in your release plans. We need to understand when certain features will be available. I understand the agile thing and understand that you will be given a forecast, but we need to understand how it's coming along. We need to plan out a bit ahead when we are releasing this feature to our clients.
I totally understand it. I totally understand. This is why we are doing Agile, and yeah, Agile it's important. In Agile, everything is quite easy. So you just find some user stories or epics. You assign them story points. You also size them with the team. Then you give them the velocity. You can create easily a release planning, which will give you the milestones. But in this situation, it's a little bit harder, you know. It's a little bit harder because we don't have a clear roadmap, and the product vision it's kind of missing. There is a lot of rework here, a lot of changes, things come and go, and it's hard for me to tell you exactly when something is going to be delivered.
Yeah, wait a minute, it sounds to me like you're saying that Oliver's not doing a good job with that. So let me just stop you right there. I mean, I know this guy for a long time, been working with him for 10 years now. He's been doing some great stuff for us. He's delivered a lot of value for my organization. And he's been doing all the right stuff. So I've seen him organizing meeting. I've been to some with all of the department leads, with all of the DU managers that report to me, with all of those guys. He's organizing the meeting. You ask him how the story should look like. He's giving you the story back. And,
I hear you, Ethan. You know, the Scrum guide clearly states the product owner owns the product backlog. He's the guy accountable and responsible to actually create the product owner, to come up with that roadmap and the product vision. And he's the one that needs to add the stuff in. That stuff needs to be very clear to the team. Needs to be.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting, Jack. But what are you going to do about it?
And even more. So this guy, it's just to give you an example. So it took like 1 week, 4 weeks to take a decision, simple decision around those integration with the CRM stuff, because he needed to put it up to a vote to the user management user group, and the team needed. In order to continue, they made some assumptions, and when he came back, fortunately our assumption was totally wrong, and we need to drop all of the work, and we need to redo the stuff. And
again, that's very interesting. But what are you going to do about it?
So he's stalling so much, and stalling means waste. You know, it's wasting. Okay, so again, what have you observed? You know the drill from the last time? Focus. We still have 2 more t-shirts. I'm going to write this time.
So, here we go.
With the product owner, because this project adapted the agile technology, but the product owner doesn't fit the role. The Scrum Master really knows how should agile work, but in order to do a good job, the product owner should have them with planning and clarification and quick decision making.
Right, true. Any other comments, guys?
Product owner is not a good fit for the role.
Here we go.
The Scrum Master is not focused on resolving impediments related to product owner.
That's a really good one.
So Scrum Master is dogmatic, or it's book oriented. It's by the book.
Here we go. You want to say something?
Completing sentence.
Yeah. What else? What was happening in there?
The Scrum Master failed to teach anything to his team or to the product owner. That is a very important member of the team. So he might be the best trained in his team, but this training doesn't get to the other members of the team.
Right. Very, very true.
Scrum Master should protect the team and come with solutions, not with pointing fingers.
Indeed.
The Scrum Master should have talked to the product owner first about this.
That's absolutely and very true. Before going out to the CTO and kind of smashing his work and doing something. True.
CTO does not have a clear overview of how Agile is going.
Yeah, definitely. He was just.
I only have room for one. Although I'm writing smaller and smaller.
Here we go.
The CTO being reluctant to the idea that the product owner is not doing his job based on previous relationships.
Exactly, that's a very good one. Thank you.
So CTO.
Here we go. Cheers. So let's kind of resume some of the stuff that we saw there. So there was definitely for the CTO a problem that he didn't have a clear visibility on the releases and what's going in there. I mean, as much as you can have in Agile, but you still cannot expect an organization to just run by your sort of a high level telling them it's going to be okay, we're going to deliver. They need to understand something about it. They need to understand the roadmap. They need to understand high level features when they're hitting in there. You can always manage that by different Agile practices, meaning you will drop some of the features that are shoulds or coulds. You are keeping only the most important ones, but you still need to help them understand when they are going to get their features, because they're a global banking business over there. I mean, whatever we are doing with our systems, they are going to push on to their clients. So they need to understand, when is that going to happen? Do I need to do something with marketing? Do I need to change my systems? Do I need to train my 30,000 people that are working on the cashiers with the clients and all that? Also, definitely, we've seen that examples from Jack, senior business users almost act like a committee for the product owner. He was organizing all of these meetings. They were getting all the BU managers, they were getting all the department leads into one room, and he was asking them and making them vote against issues and priorities and all that. That's great, that's fine. You need to get inputs from people, but you don't need to make them act like a product owner in there. And he was definitely unable to take decisions in that space just because of that.
On the team part, so team developed stuff, assuming the product owner will come up with a potential decision, which was not the case, and that meant a lot of rework for the team and the waste. Frequent rework, so Agile means open to change, but still we need to be as lean as possible, or to be lean. The product owner delay decisions, the product owner needs to be present with the team, needs to be available to answer team questions in real time, and to sometimes take maybe risk-based decisions, needs to assume responsibility for those decisions, and needs to be able to understand the whole context, the whole business context, what he's trying to get there. And on the Scrum Master part, I remarked you focused a lot on the Scrum Master. Scrum Master is doing a great job, right? Teaching the CTO from the book, so he's quoting from the Scrum guide. The product owner is the guy that needs to do blah, 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 and stuff like that. Yeah, indeed, but when you are talking with the CTO, you won't do something like that. The Scrum Master should help also the customer organization to understand the whole Agile concept and help them on Agile transformation path.
Yeah, hopefully not just when you're speaking with the CTO. Hopefully when you're doing Agile transformation, you are not just going and quoting books, because pretty much everyone can read the book, and the Scrum Guide, it's a glorious 16 pages, so how much is there to read?
Yeah, so Scrum Master should take a much more active role in the Agile transformation process with the customer. And the rest.
Okay, so some of the solutions that we talked about, and like I said, please jump in at any time if you want to add something or you have some comments on some of the things. So one of the clear things that they need to do is to introduce product envisioning and roadmap side of a thing. One thing that it's very hard for a development team to concentrate is if you give them that sort of feature soup. what are they rallying behind? What are they actually going towards? It's just like a big bowl of things in there that are dropping in stories. You don't understand what value you are delivering. You don't understand what is the end result. And one of the key things that we want to do in Agile is empower those people, empower them, take decisions, but also empower them to reach an end goal, to get to a state in which they are contributing to something, to get to a state in which they are proud of doing something. And if you give them a feature soup, it's going to be really hard for them to kind of feel that they're actually contributing to something. They need a vision. They need to understand we are actually now implementing a global payment system that will service 20 million transactions per day. Okay, I can be excited about that. Or yeah, I have a user story that creates an ISO 2000 transaction that is posting bits to another supplier's system. Okay, the release planning definitely should be mapped on this. So you should have teams, you should have epics that will allow your team to actually be empowered, to be part of that journey, to contribute to that journey. Also, there's a lot of potential solutions around what happened in that room. Definitely one of the key things would be to do some organizational changes to empower the product owner. The product owner wasn't feeling empowered. He needed to go in and organize all of those meetings, and he needed approval almost for all of those people. Now, in a large transformation project that like these guys are facing, this is going to be very hard for him to actually function as a product owner. And what he's going to do mostly, he's going to cover his ass. He's going to take a step back and say, okay, what happens if I'm taking all of the decision and this goes wrong? Well, they're going to blame me, so what am I going to do? Let's make a committee. Let's have all of those 50 guys take decisions, I make them vote, I record this, I put it all into place, and then I go for it. The product owner needs to be empowered to do that, needs to have the courage to do that, and his organization needs to stand behind him. Now that's the hardest part to do. We don't say it's not, but definitely one of the key things that we need to do as an Agile transformation partner is make that CTO understand what he needs to do to make this a success. And we don't need to be shy in telling them this sort of things. We need to stand with him over there and tell them that it can work his way, and it's going to probably produce some results, but if he wants really to go the Agile way, he needs to support his product owner. And another potential solution was to actually change the product owner. Maybe that guy was actually not senior enough in the organization, was not regarded high enough in the organization, and the people that he was working with did not trust him to take decision. Maybe one of the senior users that the CTO was mentioning, maybe one of these business users that he was mentioning can take that role, maybe a more senior role.
Okay.
How do you change the product owner if he's part of the customer's organization?
Well, let's not forget, the premise was we are not just engaged, our company was not just engaged to do just Agile delivery. They were actually looking at us as an Agile transformation partner. So they were looking at us with solutions, how to make this Agile team work. Even if they're not actually doing this as how do I call it, asking you for solutions, you can still do this. And it's our job as consultants that we are implementing Agile to help this sort of people see this. And you will have forums in which you discuss, definitely the CTO will have some sort of reporting that goes on to him. You can get into that forums, you can set up some meetings, and in those meetings you actually bring things up. Look, you are paying me big bucks here. We're talking about 7 teams that are working for you in here, you want more of them. Now I'm telling you, we can do this much better. I'm telling you that the bang for your buck can be double the size. I'm telling you that when you spend your money with me, we can deliver twice as fast. Do you want to hear about it or not? Well, if not, okay. If I'm almost telling people this, look, I want to help you to improve, but if you want to pay me just to move the pen from here to here and here to here, I'm telling you this is not good. I can do better than that. But if you just want to pay me for that, probably I'll take the money.
Okay, so another rescue would be to introduce backlog grooming, which you already touched, and I skipped the whole discussion about the backlog grooming. Instead, I will focus on the forward planning or release planning, like done regular meetings focused on the whole release and discovery of the user stories for the next releases, which will actually solve Ethan's problems around what's going to be or what's more likely to get delivered by what date. And Scrum Master needs to support the product owner in the product planning, so organizing the backlog grooming meeting, the forward planning meetings, organizing meetings with the stakeholders, or organizing user stories discovery meetings with the business users, driving those meetings instead of just letting the product owner organize those committees can be helpful. Also needs to be proactive, more proactive. So one of the questions was, it's not proactive. So clearly it was reactive, and he said all the time, basically, it's not my fault, it's the product owner's fault. It's not one or the other's fault. It's either all of them will succeed or none of them will succeed. So that's the spirit, that should be the spirit. And the product owner should feel that the product owner, Scrum Master, and the team, it's one single boat. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, this is Jack.
Oh, hi Jack, how are you?
Hi Sam, I'm fine. I'm calling you related to that incident, pre-prod incident. You've sent an email about it.
Oh yes, look Jack, I'm really not happy about that. I mean, I had to roll back all your project branches code from the pre-prod environment and to remerge all the other teams' codes into a new one. The pre-prod environment was 4 hours down. Everyone sat on their ass there. There's a lot of waste. I'm really not happy.
I'm really sorry about this. So I'm really sorry. So we took a look. We tried to test in our test environment. Everything was well. There is no problem in there. It's like we actually don't understand, and we also have our product owner accepting all the acceptance criteria after each sprint. Everything was accepted and tested. We have the suite of unit tests ran, everything is green. Our automation regression pack passed. So we really don't understand it, and even more. So we have a very good, strong definition of done, which was met. So it's fine. Trust me, Sam. It's not on our side.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Yeah. You were doing an integration with the settlements engines, were you not?
Yeah.
Just tell me, how did you plan it? How did you test it, that integration with the settlements engines?
So we met those AS400 strange guys, and we talked about their functionalities and stuff. I will try to understand some of that. And of course, we created a simulator. It was much easier.
Okay, I hear what you say. Okay, so you will know then that our application support team is actually fixing bugs in that area for a while now. And as part of them fixing bugs, they have changed a number of scenarios on that settlements engine workflow. And then your simulator is definitely out of date. You've tested against something that just simulates things that are no longer valid in the production environment. And when we actually did the going into production and the merging of the code, your scenario was just hit and the entire system crashed on that one.
Oh, so actually those guys still writing code. Oh.
Okay then, so what have we seen this time?
Major discrepancies between testing environment and actual live environment.
Okay, so the testing environment wasn't synced anyway with the pre-prod environment.
No communication between teams.
No communication between teams. Great. Who said that? Can you catch one of these?
Depends how far you can throw it.
I can throw it really far, but okay. Something else?
Yes. The Scrum Master did not take responsibility for what happened.
Really? Another backup. Gigantic pocket. Who wants the t-shirt? Come on. You already have one.
But I have an idea. It has development in the pre-production phase, and the Scrum Master didn't know about it.
So no communication between teams, no integration with any other parts. So I was developing in my own world. Okay, the t-shirt, come on.
No transparency.
No transparency, okay.
The customers don't understand very well how that component should be tested, so that's why they use the simulator.
TS400. No, that means. Really, really good. So, path to production. Okay, so do you have more room, Jeff?
No, I think we're at full house here.
Yeah, good.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so not a good understanding of the release cycle, siloed release planning, ignoring other teams, no communication with any other teams. Yeah, clearly that's a very big problem, very big problem when you are working in an enterprise environment. You don't exist by yourself. Even though you might create new stuff, you need to take into account the integration with existing systems, because in this case, the global banking business was relying on those legacy S400 and COBOL applications, and not being able to do transactions anymore between their subsidiaries could be a big problem. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, we didn't have any sort of a automation integration in there, so we were just relying on our sort of a isolated view of the world. And when we said it's done, but was that a shippable increment? Well, not until the integration with all the systems. And definitely no other approach defined to compensate. Okay, we didn't do it automatically, but we ignored what the integration team was doing in there. So we just kind of lived in our own world and said, should be fine. I mean, we tested it with a simulator. What can go wrong?
Yeah.
So let's see some of the solutions here.
Okay, so fully explode the path to production. Really good one. Release manager should be invited and taking on the journey in discovering and exploring that path to production together with all the other teams. Organize enterprise Scrum meeting with all the teams that are working on that code base in order to find out dependencies and be able to sync with the other teams that are actually working on the same product.
Then definitely we need to enhance the definition of done. I mean, he was stating over and over to the release manager, I have a strong definition of done. Please believe me, please trust me. But the definition of done was just living in his own world. He was having a barrier here, and the other system, until they go to production, was just ignored. So he needs to rethink that. He needs to understand the path to production. He needs to work with the other teams. He needs to work with the release manager. He needs to make aware the product owner that his actually system is not going to go to production until the other systems are integrated. Most probably the product owner kind of just living in his own world too. He accepted all the user stories, everything was fine for him, so should be fine. But and
have special integration sprints before going into pre-prod and prod, and generally introduce continuous delivery practices, which is great. All of us are aiming for having continuous delivery. That's quite hard to have in reality.
Especially in this case when these guys were having a lot of legacy code, and the legacy code didn't have any sort of integration automation on it. It didn't have any unit testing coverage. So that usually it's going to be a technical project for you to convince the client to gradually change his path and introduce some technical user stories in there that will help improve the continuous delivery. Until then, nonetheless, you need to do something. You can't just say, okay, well, we don't have continuous delivery, the unit testing is failing, so what do we do? Well, we don't do anything. We test against simulators and we ignore everything and we write the definition of done up until this big wall here. We need to have some special integration sprints. We need to work with the other teams and join up all our code together somehow. How big, how small that is, that depends on the context. So pretty much, guys, that's what we wanted to share with you. Here we go.
Whose job is to enhance the definition of done for a release?
Everybody's job.
The Scrum team's job, including the product owner who should be fully aware of that.
The definition of done are actually the criteria when something is considered done, developed, done, tested, done, ready for production. So that readiness for production is quite important. That's why the continuous delivery means you can go live after each sprint. That's the goal, basically. That's something should happen, right? This is what the Scrum Guide tells us. Potentially shippable product at the end of each sprint. Okay?
Okay, so thank you guys very much. You were wonderful today. We just wanted to kind of leave you with some of these. I guess we have a bit of that joy of working with British clients a lot in our company. And boy, do they kind of twist the words a bit. You can read some of that. We try to incorporate partly some of that in our conversations, but we are just learning as we go away. For example, when someone kind of just says, "I hear what you say," usually it's telling you, "You dumbass." I'm disagreeing with you violently, actually. Or when you say, "I'm a bit disappointed," it's, "I'm really annoyed that you bring this thing up."
Or quite good means not quite good at all.
One of my favorites was, "This is a very great proposal," and I actually heard that in a few times in my time, and I was thinking, "Wow, I must be so cool."
Yeah. Also, I'm sure it's my fault. Being told I'm sure it's my fault from a customer can. Yeah. Okay. So you acknowledge we've done a great job. It's your fault, actually.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. No trap.